What if I told you that right now, somewhere between the gleam of clean energy promise and the hum of industrial machines, lies a silent crisis, one that almost nobody sees coming, yet everyone depends on? That's the story behind silver today. Demand for silver isn't what it used to be, no longer a simple precious metal. For coins and jewelry, silver is evolving into a linchpin for the global energy transition. In 2024, industrial demand hit a record high about 680. 5 million ounces, the fourth straight year of gains. KGHM Polska Mide +2, A Invest +2 the reason. Silver's irreplaceable role in solar panels, electric vehicles, electronics, and the infrastructure of a height, future. Wedbush investors +2 business today +2 at the same time. Supply isn't keeping up. The global silver market has now officially logged 5 consecutive years of deficit. Demand continues to outpace available production. Globe Newswire +2 Silver Phoenix 500 +2. Much of the world's silver comes as a byproduct of mining other metals, which means miners can't simply turn up the dial on silver output when demand surges. Globe Newswire +2 Financial content +2 on one side. You have this surge of real, structural demand from solar farms to EV factories to data centers powering AI. On the other, you have a supply chain struggling to catch up. This imbalance isn't a small hiccup, it's a tectonic shift. As the metal becomes essential for clean energy infrastructure and advanced electronics, its scarcity becomes a strategic concern, not just for investors, but for the world's energy systems. What many investors are missing right now is that this isn't just another commodity rally. The forces at play aren't speculation or hype. They're structural, rooted in a global transition toward renewable energy, electrification, tech proliferation. And silver is at the center of it. That means volatility and opportunity. When a market is tight like this, even small shocks, a mine disruption, a spike in demand, a policy change could trigger big moves. But that same tightness also means that the upside could be enormous, especially if investment or industrial demand surges. If you believe in the energy transition story in EVs, solar, electronics, then silver isn't just a metal. It's a bet on the future of global infrastructure, on a world reshaping itself around clean energy and fast tech. That's why the big silver warning isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because for anyone paying attention, silver might be the quietest but most powerful lift in the room. What if I told you that somewhere beneath the sparkle and promise of progress, there lies a crack in the market for silver that's widening quietly, even as the world moves ahead with solar panels, electric cars, and cutting-edge electronics? Right now, silver is caught in a squeeze. Demand is exploding, but supply is running on fumes. In 2024 alone, industrial demand for silver climbed to a record 680. 5 million ounces, the result of surging need in clean energy, grid infrastructure, automotive electrification, semiconductors, and electronics. The Silver Institute +2, the Silver Institute +2. Meanwhile, the supply side simply cannot keep up. For the fourth straight year, total global demand has outpaced silver production, resulting in a structural market deficit of roughly 148.9 million ounces in 2024. Money Metals Exchange +2 KGHM Polska, Mide +2. Why is this happening? First, the nature of silver production itself is a limiting factor. Most of the silver mined globally is not from dedicated silver mines, it's a byproduct of mining for other metals. That means miners can't just ramp up production. When silver demand surges, output tends to remain flat, no matter how high the price goes. Silver Pundit +2, the Silver Institute +2 on top of that. Ore quality has been degrading over time, which makes new discoveries less attractive and existing mines less productive. Silver Pundit +1 on the demand side, silver's transformation is dramatic. No longer mainly for jewelry or coin collectors, it has become indispensable for the technologies shaping our future. solar photovoltaic PV installations, electric vehicles EVs, advanced electronics, semiconductors, grid upgrades, and even the rising wave of AI-driven data centers and high-tech infrastructure. Wedbush Investors +2, the Silver Institute +2. As these sectors expand, they consume silver not as an optional nice-to-have, but as a core input. What was once a precious metal is now a foundational raw material for the global energy transition and digital age. This structural mismatch, soaring industrial demand vs. constrained supply, creates enormous pressure on the silver market, and pressure has consequences. When supply is tight and big portions of production are locked into long-term industrial contracts, even small disruptions, a mine closure, a supply chain bottleneck, a surge in investment demand can send prices spiking. This isn't speculation. This is real demand outstripping real supply. But there's a deeper concern. The stockpiles that once buffered this imbalanced scrap, recycling above ground metal holdings are depleting. As the new supply fails to keep pace, even recycling becomes insufficient. Analysts warn that as mining growth remains constrained and recycling rates cannot scale fast enough, the deficit could persist or even widen in the coming years. Silver Phoenix 500 +2 Silver Pundit +2. What many in the market still don't fully grasp is that this isn't a short-term blip. It's a structural crisis, one driven not by panic or hype, but by fundamental changes in how the world uses silver. A metal once prized for jewelry and stores of value is now being consumed relentlessly by industry. And once silver becomes essential to global infrastructure, solar farms, EV grids, electronics factories, you can't print more of it overnight. That's why today I sound the alarm. This is not merely a bullish case, but a stark warning. The silver supplied and imbalance is no longer theoretical. It's real, it's structural. And unless something dramatically changes, new mines, breakthroughs in material science, or drastic reductions in industrial demand, silver may be on the verge of a squeeze unlike anything we've seen. For those with eyes to see, this is a moment of reckoning, because when the world needs silver for its green, energy dreams and digital transformation, but there simply isn't enough supply, the consequences will ripple from manufacturing floors to global markets. The silver crisis alert isn't about fear, it's about recognition. Imagine for a moment the world races toward electrification, solar farms stretch across deserts, electric cars hum silently through city streets, data centers pulse with global traffic. The demand for raw materials is exploding, and at the heart of that explosion lies a metal few treat as essential, silver. But here's the urgent truth: silver supply simply can't keep up. The global silver market is now in a structural collapse, and it could shake industries, economies, and investors alike. In 2024, industrial demand for silver soared past record levels. Over 700 million ounces were consumed by solar, electronics, EVs, and green energy infrastructure, a number unmatched in history. PV Magazine International +2 investing. Com India +2. Meanwhile, global supply couldn't rise to meet it. Total mined silver output nudged up only modestly to around 820 million ounces. The Silver Institute +1 recycling and secondary supply once a cushion are insufficient. Recoverable scrap is limited, and modern electronics disperse silver in quantities too small to economically reclaim. Physical gold +1 the result. For the fifth consecutive year, demand has outstripped supply. This structural deficit isn't a blip, it's a trend. Projections for 2025 already point to another shortfall, as deficit levels remain historically high. Silver Phoenix 500 +2 money metals exchange +2. What does this imbalance mean? It means the inventories that once buffered the gap, warehouse stocks above ground holdings, scrap, are being drawn down fast. As those buffers vanish, every ounce of silver becomes critical. Industries forced to compete for dwindling supply may face shortages. Prices could swing wildly. What once felt like a stable commodity is turning into a strategic bottleneck. Discovery alert +2 metal +2 because silver isn't just a precious metal. For investors anymore, it's a foundational building block of our clean energy future. Photovoltaic cells, electric vehicles, advanced electronics, medical devices. Silver's unmatched electrical conductivity and material properties make it irreplaceable. That means demand isn't speculative, it's structural, ingrained, non-negotiable. Metal +2 PV Magazine International +2, and that is where the crisis lies. The supply chain for silver is not reactive. Most silver production today comes as a byproduct of mines extracting other metals. That means even if silver prices surge, miners cannot simply turn on the silver faucet. New silvers, specific mines are rare, exploration is underfunded, ore grades are declining, and regulatory or environmental pressures hamper expansion. And demand partners. Com+2 metal news +2 so as the world electrifies as data centers expand as solar infrastructure spreads. One of the core metals enabling this transformation is slipping into scarcity. Governments, manufacturers, and industries may soon find that silver once taken for granted becomes the choke point for growth. For investors, this isn't just a story about metal prices. It's a warning flag, a potential supply shock, rising volatility, and a market where physical availability may matter more than paper claims. For industries and societies, it's a structural risk. Without enough silver, parts of the green revolution could stall or slow. In short, silver's age-old status as a precious metal is fading. It's becoming something far more critical, a strategic raw material, and when supply collapses under industrial demand, the consequences echo far beyond bullion prices. The warning isn't about hype, it's about reality. Imagine this: a sunder, appreciated metal quietly transforming into the backbone of tomorrow's energy systems and digital infrastructure. That metal is silver. And now, with demand surging and supply stuck in neutral, we may be hurtling into one of the greatest squeezes markets have ever seen. Are you ready to lose or win? Right now, silver isn't a fringe bet. It's becoming a strategic resource. In 2024 alone, industrial silver demand jumped to a record 685 million ounces. That's the fourth straight year demand has broken records. Endeavor's silver +2, silver Phoenix 500 +2. This surge isn't fueled by speculation or hype, it's driven by real-world needs. Solar panels, electric vehicles, advanced electronics, AI data centers, and the infrastructure for the green energy revolution. Wedbush investors +2, tech stock +2, but here's the problem. Silver's supply simply isn't built for this kind of explosion in demand. Only about 30% of global silver comes from dedicated silver mines. The rest is a byproduct of mining metals like copper, lead, or zinc. The economic times +1, that means even if the price soars, supply can't ramp up overnight. New mines, bigger output, none of that solves the immediate crunch. Even recycling, once a buffer, is hitting its limits. According to industry analysts, recycling contributes only 15–20% of annual silver supply, and much of industrial silver ends up in tiny electronic components that simply aren't economical to recover. Physical gold +1, what this creates is a structural squeeze, demand and usage rising fast, supply flatlining, inventories shrinking. The result: upward pressure on price. In 2025, even as industrial demand dipped slightly due to economic uncertainty, the overall supply-demand imbalance remained. Globe Newswire +1 for investors and industries alike. This could play out in two stark ways: massive gains or painful shortages. On one hand, if supply remains constrained while demand keeps climbing, silver could suddenly become far more valuable, not just as a precious metal, but as a strategic commodity, a core input for the industries building the future. On the other hand, if undersupply and hoarding intensify, we could see bottlenecks, price spikes, and supply chain stress. From solar panel manufacturers to electronics producers to EV makers. Many still underestimate what silver squeeze actually means. This isn't a short-term correction or a speculative bubble. This is a structural shift. From a metal treated like jewelry or a store of value to a critical raw material whose demand is deeply rooted in the global transition to clean energy, electrification, and technology expansion. Invest +2 Wedbush investors +2. So here's the takeaway. Pay attention now. Silver is no longer just a hedge or a collector's asset. It's an essential input, and the recipe for a squeeze is already in motion. For those who see this coming, there's an opportunity, not just to ride a rally, but to align with a paradigm shift. For those who ignore it, well, the stakes could be far greater than a missed trade.